Hey, it was one moment, man. It was one moment where it was a summer camp, bruh. And we was in the bathroom, staying the Candyman joint. Like every single time somebody got the Candyman on the second time, never made it to the third, bruh. Never made it to the third. We couldn't even. We couldn't even cut die. I ain't gonna lie to you, bruh. And for anybody that's listening, bruh, if y'all are ever, first of all, welcome to the stream. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody joining. Doug is joining us shortly. We got to preview the Patriots and the Washington football team, man. Get some football talk going on. But I know for a fact everybody in here had that run-in with the Candyman, yo. And I know for a fact,
Bloody Mary, both
and the Bloody Mary one too. I know for a fact, when you got in that mirror, y'all got a little nervous, man. I know y'all did,
don't
man.
cut the light out. Cut that light out.
Oh, don't cut the light out, man. Oh my goodness. Hey, Dre, talk to me though. How was your weekend, man? Everything was good?
It was good, man. I mean, of course, Friday night, man. Shit, Friday was straight, you know. It was a good time, man. Good turnout, man. Good to see people. And it felt, I mean, this was, for a lot of us, the first experience we had back into, you know, a football environment in the stadium. I mean, this is the first time fans been back in FedEx since, 2019?
Yeah.
So,
outside of
you know what I'm saying?
That brief Giants game where, you know what I'm saying, lost.
Oh, yeah.
We don't count that.
January. Yeah, you know. It got us Chase Young. That's all that mattered. But, no, it was a great time, man. Like, just seeing y'all, man, you, Damo, all the fellas, man. It was good to see some people, man. Like, everybody was in a good mood. It was fun, man. And I don't know if you stayed afterward, but they had the little light show after. That was pretty good, too.
I was outside the stadium when that happened, though. First off, two things. It explains why I left. But the food was so bad, bro. I'm just, but you know, I had
crushing that joint.
I hadn't ate since 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't care what it tasted like. I was crushing it, bro. Hold on 1 second. Oh yeah. Doug is joining shortly, y'all. I was crushing it, so I didn't give a damn what it tasted like. But then I spilled ketchup on my shirt. I was mad. I wasn't staying no longer. That's why I had my shirt off. Well, you knew it, but that's what people talking about. I was too drunk. I was hot. No, nigga, I was mad. I had ketchup all over my shirt.
You said it like 5 times. You was like, man, damn, I got this ketchup on my shit.
Yeah, and then Shorty tried to clean it off for me. I'm like, bro, you just about to smear it. Let it go.
Yeah, it wasn't coming out.
Let it go. It was a wrap. Hey, what's going on, Cafe? My bad, Cafe, Hillary, T. How y'all doing, man? Everybody all right? Yeah, bro. Friday was good, man. That was my first time back in a little minute. I got blessed with the tickets last minute because I was banking on getting credentialed, not knowing how they was gonna act with the COVID policy, and obviously. I think we spoke about it last week too. I got shut down, so I had to ask for some tickets, and Keith looked out for us, for me. So I appreciate Keith. Shout out to you. And congratulations on the boxing gloves move that you did with I forgot the other guy, the painter. But shout out to him because I forgot his name. But yeah, he blessed me last second, man. I just said, fuck it, bro. If I ain't about to get in a credential, why the hell I'm gonna go over there and do some work? I'm gonna just go ahead, get my drinks, bro, get my Long Island, start the night off with the Long Island, and get some tequila for the rest of the night, bro. So, it was definitely a good environment, man. And then you ain't even stopped. You went to your old stopping grounds afterwards, huh? Okay, is it WFT new? All right, cool. Okay, so we good. And Doug couldn't hear me either. That shit was weird as fuck. I sit here and did the intro to him and everything, and I was like, hold on, why he ain't reacting? I'm gonna do this shit again too. Do the exact same thing. I'm gonna act like he ain't. I'm sitting here act like he ain't hear me. Fuck it. Put my acting skills on. All right, here we go. All right, let's try this again, man. I don't see you though. Hold on, let me see this. Let me try this one more time. See this. Boom. Let's get a test going. Can you hear me, Doug? There we go. Here we go, man. Oh my goodness. It was crazy because literally 2 seconds before you joined, Dre dropped. So I'm sitting here thinking this is Wi-Fi or something like that. Lo and behold, it's on my side the entire time, man. Oh my goodness. It's perfect time in the song just ended, intermission just ended. Let me go ahead, turn it back to the Skype pod. Here we go.
All right. Here we go.
Now, I gotta make sure I get my introduction proper. You know what I'm saying? So I am excited. Trust and believe. I don't care if it's preseason. This is the Trap or Dive podcast, first official game preview. So we got to kick things off the right way with the good man Doug Kyed. Kyed is an NFL reporter for Pro Football Focus, and prior to that, not too long ago, by the way, he covered the the New England Patriots. It's crazy I made that same mistake. New England Patriots, close to a decade for the New England Sports Network. So 2 things, Doug. This is my first time talking with you on the mic. So I do want to give you a congratulations on your way to on your move to Pro Football Focus. And secondly, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for the congratulations. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Absolutely, and I do want to get a quick question out of the way because typically with the Trap or Dive podcast, man, the best thing about our show, yes, we talk about sports, we talk about NFL, watching the football team, man, but the best thing is getting to know our guests. But obviously, we have you for about 20 minutes, so I do want to get this one thing out the way. What's the best thing you came across since covering the NFL, and what's one thing that you missed since from covering the New England Patriots? Excuse me.
I would say I did a mini training camp tour last week where I went to Washington, actually, which is good, Baltimore, and then the New York Giants. I'm hoping to maybe go on one more, maybe on the West Coast. But there was a lot of fun just seeing other teams' training camps, seeing how it's different from the Patriots, and kind of meeting other head coaches, GMs, offensive coordinators, all those things. And I'd say that the thing I miss the most about covering the Patriots is probably just seeing the other beat reporters every day, because otherwise I work remotely, so I'm kind of home with the family, which is good. But you do miss seeing those coworkers that I've seen over the last 8 years every day.
And one more thing, man, I just noticed this too. You did recently move to PFF, so how was it handling? It was Zoom all last year, man. Like for damn near every reporter and everybody who was connected in some type of way with the team that they were covering. And how was that? Because obviously you missed the guys that you worked with and the ladies that you worked with on the beat, and then all of a sudden you get a new job. It's a new opportunity for you, but you wasn't around them that much for an entire season. Like how was that whole experience for 20?
It was definitely strange, especially with a lot of the new players that were on the Patriots last season. Like, I still haven't met Cam Newton in person, which is really weird. I covered him for a whole season and only talked to him via Zoom. And there was a small period of time there during, I guess it was OTAs and minicamp, where we were able to be around each other at practice, me and the other reporters. But even then, all the interviews were via Zoom. It only recently started being in person again. So definitely a really weird season. It's going to be about half as weird this year, I would say. The travel is still going to be a little bit stilted. Some of the availability will still be virtual. So that was really one of the things why I was so excited to move over to covering the entire league, because covering a beat last year really wasn't the same. And I don't think it was going to be fully the same this year again.
Well, chat, as we transition to the actual game, if y'all got any questions for Doug, you got any questions you want to ask him, and just his opinion from an outsider's perspective, because first and foremost, I'm gonna let y'all know, and I'm gonna reiterate it later on. It's important to get the perspective of an outsider. We're wrapped up in the Washington football community, so please, you got questions and you got something that's on your mind, ask Doug while he's here. Ask Doug. So let's go ahead and get to it, man. Like I said, I wanted to get you on just because I wanted to get your thoughts on Washington football in an unbiased way. You spent some time in New England. You're obviously not wrapped up in Washington 24/7, but you was here for a brief period during camp, man. And let's kick things off with your overall thoughts on the Washington football team. Doug, how do you think they stack up in the NFC East? But also, how do you think they stack up in the conference?
I think in the NFC East, they're going to be contenders. I know that a lot of people are really high on the Dallas Cowboys, but you just never know which Cowboys team you're going to get from year to year. And a lot of that does depend on Dak Prescott. The fact that he's already nursing the arm injury isn't a great sign. So I would probably put Washington below the Cowboys on that NFC East power rankings, but probably above the Giants and the Eagles. I know a lot of people are expecting the Eagles to probably be the bottom feeders of the division. But I think Washington's a team on the rise. I think that they're handling things the right way. They're trying to change the culture there. Seems like Ron Rivera is doing a really good job of that. Bringing in a new quarterback helps. Obviously, you have to hope that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be consistent for the whole season, which hasn't been the case really throughout his career. And as far as the conference goes, I think that they're playoff contenders. I'm not sure how high they can get. I'm not sure how much better they'll be from last year when they were in the playoffs, obviously. But I do think that they'll take a step forward this season. I think that they're building something that could eventually become something special there. But at this point, I do expect them to take a step forward this year.
Now, Dre, I asked our Twitter community, man, just flat out, will you take the 8.5? Assuming that 8.5 is the win total for Washington, I asked them, will you, without hesitation, take the 8.5 over for Washington this year? And the majority, Dre, majority of the answers were yes. Without hesitation, they would take that over, man. So Doug, I asked this question to you. You do think they have playoff potential this year? So clearly, I would assume that's the over for you, 8.5 wins. But how far can they go with Fitzpatrick at quarterback? Can they go further than the wild card?
I would take the over. I think that especially, the over-unders this year is strange because it's the whole 17-game season. I think that everyone's still getting accustomed to that. And I think that there are going to be more double-digit win teams than people might be expecting right now. I'm not sure if Washington's going to be one of them, but I think that they've got that potential. And I think that, they made it. They made it to the playoffs last year. Obviously lost the Bucs. I think that they could make the playoffs, maybe get into the second round with Ryan Fitzpatrick. The thing there is that, Fitzpatrick, like I said, hasn't been the most consistent option throughout his career, but he's a significant step forward from what they had last season. Alex Smith was a great story, but let's not pretend like he played well for Washington last season. Because he didn't. And then obviously had Kyle Allen, who wasn't playing very well, Tyler Heineke, who had the kind of magic playoff game there. But from what I've seen and what I've heard about camp, he hasn't been overly impressive this season. And it's Taylor Heineke. He was, going back to college before he got the call from the Washington football team. So I think that just that improvement from what they had last year to now having Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think that's one of the reasons why, like I said, that they can take a step forward this season. Because even if he is inconsistent, even if he is his normal Ryan Fitzpatrick self, he'll be much better than what they had last year.
So, the best case and worst case scenario, I would imagine. I don't want to answer this for you. I just want to get an understanding. I guess the best case scenario could be winning a playoff game with Fitzpatrick. And then obviously correct me if I'm wrong. And then what would be the worst case scenario with Fitzpatrick, assuming he does start all 17? What could be the worst case? 17 now. 17 games, assuming he can start all of them. What's the worst case scenario for Fitzpatrick in Washington football?
That's tough. I mean, I guess I'd say like 6-11, 7-10, one of those type of seasons. And with injuries, that can happen. Obviously, we all expect the defense to be to be strong this season, offense to be better with Curtis Samuel in there and everything. And Samuel's already banged up. He hasn't practiced since June. So if those injuries pile up, then Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't that type of quarterback who can take you to that next level by himself. He obviously still needs help. I do think that until Samuel comes back, that offense might not be running on all cylinders. They might not be an overly high-powered offense, but the defense is so good that I think that they can bail them out in a lot of situations this year.
Yeah, I agree with the defense, man. But the one thing with the defense, Doug, is I struggle trying to extrapolate what the hell exactly happened last year. And the reason why I say this, I think our defense was good. I think Washington's defense was good. But I think one of the issues that we come across when we talk about Washington's defense, I'm talking about within our circle, we don't always take into account the offenses that we played last year. And that has a lot to do with obviously the quarterbacks or the injuries, just general injuries and stuff like that. From your opinion, how much or how different could the defense be this year in terms of skill wise? Or, I mean, is it something that you understand where I'm coming from, where it's like you don't know exactly how good they really could be because of the type of teams that they faced last year and the breaks that they were given last year? Where are you at with this one?
No, I could certainly see that. I mean, they did not play the best offenses. Just simply being in that division gave them a relatively easy schedule offensively. That being said, I do think that Chase Young is going to take a step forward this season. I think that Jamin Davis at middle linebacker is going to be a big addition this season. At least that's what Washington is expecting out of him. I talked to some people down there, and they were extremely impressed with not only his athleticism, but how quickly he was picking up the defense. And I think I was covering the second padded practice or the first padded practice that they had. And one of the things that they told me was that he was just as good with pads on as he was without pads on. And that's important for a young player like that. And it certainly looked like he was doing well. One person described him as outstanding. So just having that, modern type linebacker in the middle of your defense is a big help. We all know that the defensive line is going to be really strong.
Yep.
The big question I would say is the secondary. I think that there are still some question marks in there, even as far as who's going to start in that secondary. So that needs to be settled a little bit, but the front seven is going to be strong. That's going to be a major strong suit for Washington this season.
So before we transition to New England, I want to get your opinion first on what you've been noticing at camp in your time here, but also things that you've been hearing since that period. Who has the potential to be the unsung hero for Washington 2021? What is your opinion on who that player can be, or if you have multiple, who are those players for you?
Well, we've talked a lot about the defense, and I think that Jamin Davis could be one of those guys who's really important to the defense. On offense, I'm really looking to see who wins that number 3 wide receiver spot because Terry McLaurin is going to be great again. Curtis Samuel, as soon as he gets healthy, he's got the experience in Scott Turner's offense, so I think that he should be able to hit the ground running as soon as that groin is fine. But the 3rd wide receiver spot, I think, is going to be an important one for them, and it's either going to be Adam Humphries, it's Cam Sims is in the running for that, and then Dyami Brown, who's the rookie. I was personally impressed with when I was in Washington.
He was lighting it up.
Yeah, he's explosive. He's dynamic, which fits his name pretty well. And some of the people that I talked to agreed with that. And one thing that I also heard about Dyami Brown is that he's taking coaching not only from the coaching staff but from Ryan Fitzpatrick very well. So I'm not saying that Dyami Brown's going to be a week 1 starter or a week 1 major contributor or anything like that, but he's doing all the right things. And there was one moment during practice when he kind of didn't run his route the exact way that Ryan Fitzpatrick wanted him to. Ryan Fitzpatrick brought him over, said, all right, this is how you do it. Cut this way. I want you to stop right here. And then the very next play would have gone for a 30, 40-yard gain. So I think that just shows you right there that he's a guy who listens. He's a guy who's going to pick things up really quickly. And he's fast as hell. I mean, he really is. He's a smooth athlete, really good route runner. And I think that he's got a lot of potential there.
Oh my God, man. Hey, Doug, I just want you to know, first off, because I know this side, the streaming side can hear me. This is probably going to be the worst job post-editing job I'm ever going to have to do in my life, man. This is kind of crazy. Like I said, I don't know what's going on. We can be quick. I don't want to rush your answers because I want the people to hear you. But I appreciate your patience, man. I guess this is the streaming side that a lot of people run into when there are issues. So I gotta work around it, man. So I do know I was in the middle of asking you a question from one of the viewers, and so we didn't really miss anything that you said. The viewer had asked, Kev, shout out to you and appreciate everybody who's still sticking in here. Let me go ahead back to the Skype side. What are the people from a natural perspective? What type of stock were they putting into the Tampa Bay game? Just from your opinion and what you saw versus like what the reality could be. Like, was it just a one moment type of thing, or was it like a building block of momentum for like future games or future seasons?
I think it certainly could be a building block. I think it shows that what Ron Rivera is building there was working. And I'm not sure, like I said earlier, I'm not sure if Taylor or Heineke will be the answer there or anything like that. But I do think, like I said, that there's been a culture shift there in Washington. And I think that was shown a little bit in that postseason game for sure.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and transition to New England, man, before this goddamn stream cut off again. All right. Optimism. Excuse me. We already got that one out of the way. New England, how's Cam doing? First and foremost, and are we expecting him in any capacity for the first preseason game?
Cam's looking okay in practice. He definitely has better practices than others. He's still taking the first reps every practice. Mack Jones got, I'd say, equal opportunities yesterday in practice as Cam, where they kind of shared the first team roles, but Cam was definitely the first one taking the snaps. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Cam was out there. Bill Belichick's not going to say anything probably until the night before the game, maybe tomorrow at some point. But I think it makes sense to put Cam and Mack Jones both out there. If this is a legitimate competition between the two of them, which it certainly looked like yesterday, then I think you've got to put both quarterbacks out there for all three preseason games, or at least the first two.
Okay. So you mentioned both quarterbacks. Obviously, the other quarterback being Mac and Cheese, as the man Cam Newton likes to call him. Mack Jones, man. We understand that he runs a completely different offense than Newton under Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. How is Mac been coming along throughout this offseason? How has he been receiving the coaching? How has he been receiving everything and putting that on display for practices?
I think he's getting more comfortable. They're obviously much different quarterbacks, and I think that Mack Jones might shine a little bit more during these practice sessions because you're not seeing Cam Newton's rushing ability in a real way, because no one can tackle, and anytime he gets out of the pocket, the play kind of breaks down a little bit. But Mack Jones is another one. He's had some up and down moments. He's had some struggles this summer, but in that practice that I saw yesterday, I thought he was looking pretty comfortable. Some of his accuracy actually was a little bit off early in practice. He got that figured out, but he's leading his receivers well. And actually, he was showing off some improvisational skills just with his legs a little bit, which I was a little bit surprised by because that obviously wasn't something he did a lot at Alabama. But I think it's close. But if it's close, then Cam Newton's going to be the starter in week one. I don't think that Bill Belichick is going to rush Mack Jones out there. So if it stays close for the rest of the summer, then I would still expect Cam to be the starter. But you never know. Mack Jones could, pull away over the next month or so.
So speaking of, well, I shouldn't say speaking of, but Mack Jones, man, if I'm not mistaken, recently I'm speaking of, he's put together stacked together a couple of good practices back to back, like where it's been some noise making in the articles and ESPN stuff like that. I would ask you, what is the potential for that, man? Like, what is the ceiling that you can get for Mack Jones under a Josh McDaniels offense? And how can that benefit New England and stuff like that? Where are you at with this?
It's tough because, most of Josh McDaniels' success has come with Tom Brady, and he really hasn't had to coach that many other quarterbacks throughout his career. Coming into the season, I think that people had Mack Jones upside, somewhere around Kirk Cousins. And maybe the upside of Kirk Cousins would work in a Josh McDaniels offense if everything else works around him. There were other people, on the other side of the fence. I think even Mike Tannenbaum was one of these people who said that, the upside is Tom Brady. And obviously no one is Tom Brady. So that's definitely a little bit ridiculous. But I think he can be a quality NFL starter. I think that he'll really have to develop, especially his arm strength, to be an elite quarterback. But if he can carry over that accuracy, if he can carry over the good decision making, if he's leading his receivers, if his accuracy is really on point, then I think he could be a quality starter in the NFL.
Hey, Doug, what's going on? I actually had a question. I've been hearing some things about the New England receivers. Specifically, one of the guys I remember hearing about a couple of years ago in the NFL draft, N'Keal Harry and Christian Wilkinson. But is this a season where we can start to see N'Keal Harry kind of live up to the pre-draft hype that he had going into the draft? Is he starting to make some noise in New England practices, and should we see a lot of him this Thursday?
He is definitely making noise in practice. He's been one of the standouts this summer in practice, and definitely should see him a lot on Thursday against Washington. The one thing I'll say about N'Keal Harry is that he's a little bit buried on the depth chart right now because they brought in Nelson Aguilar, they brought in Kendrick Bourne. Jacoby Myers was the Patriots' best wide receiver last season. So I think that Harry's probably starting third or fourth on the wide receiver depth chart. And it might take an injury or a really impressive performance from him over the rest of the summer to really vault up that wide receiver depth chart just because of the guys that are ahead of him. But he's doing the right things in practice. He's making some big plays. Seems like he's built up his chemistry with both Cam Newton and Mack Jones. So it's definitely been a promising summer for him. And it started out with him having a trade request. So he's definitely come a long way since the beginning of the offseason. But it's been encouraging. It's been good to see because he's a good dude. Obviously has a lot of potential. He was a first-round pick, but it just really didn't come together for him over the first 2 years of his career. So he has to take really, at this point, a massive step forward this season to actually live up to that first-round billing. But he's still a young player.
I wonder if somebody told him just to work for that shit. Like, I wonder if somebody just told him, like, don't worry about that trade. You need to earn yours. Because if it is, clearly it's been paying off so far. You got to see him in games, but that may have been the case.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we know about that with Josh Doxson a couple years ago. So I mean, he was a big disappointment.
Man, I ain't messing with that. Messing with Josh.
Hasn't been much better, I'd say, for N'Keal Harry so far. But like I said, yeah, I think that at least here in New England, the trade request was met with some laughing because it's like, I don't know. I mean, you're a first round pick. You had a lot of potential, but you can't really request a trade if you haven't done anything yet. But now maybe this summer, maybe he's putting that pressure on himself to actually do something. And that's what it looks like so far.
Yeah. And going forward, what is post Tom Brady New England? We saw what that looked like last year, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was more like the average Washington football season. So that's something different for the New England Patriots. But what is kind of the general overall expectation of New England this year? Are they primed to maybe give Buffalo some competition, maybe even get back on top of Miami again? Like, where are they going to succeed this year on any side of the ball?
I think that expectations at this point are definitely to make the playoffs. It might be somewhat similar to Washington, actually, where we were talking about, make the playoffs, see if you can win a game, then kind of build from there. But they spent a lot of money this offseason at tight end with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Their offensive line is going to be a major strength after they brought in Trent Brown they shifted around the offensive line, but Trent Brown's basically replacing Joe Thuney and kind of a one-for-one swap there. So offense should be better after bringing in Aguilar and Bourne as well. The weapons were really, really, really bad last season. You're talking about, Ryan Izzo at tight end, Jakob Johnson at fullback, N'Keal Harry and Damiere Byrd at wide receiver. They've really upgraded those positions quite a bit this season. Run game should be strong again with Damian Harris, Sonny Michel, James White. And then their defense should be a lot better this season as well, just getting back Dante Hightower in the middle of their defense. He opted out last season, so that's a massive addition. They also signed Matt Judon, brought back Kyle Van Noy. The key there on defense for them to be as good as they have the potential to be is to get things right with Stephon Gilmore, because right now Stephon Gilmore is doing one of those hold-ins where he's with the team, but he's not practicing because he wants a pay increase this summer, which he hasn't got yet. But they've got J.C. Jackson at cornerback. They've got Jonathan Jones at cornerback, but they need that other top flight cornerback in Stephon Gilmore, because beyond him, they've got Jalen Mills, a guy that you saw a lot in Philadelphia when Washington was playing them. Mike Jackson Sr., who's kind of a fringe roster player. Joanne Williams hasn't really worked out as a second round pick. So there's no other obvious starter to play in place of Stephon Gilmore if they can't figure things out. So I think that's the key at this point for the Patriots.
Okay, so last question to close out. strongest position group of the defense and weakest position group of the defense. Would you say weakest would be the defensive backs without Stephon Gilmore?
Yeah, I would say, as long if Stephon Gilmore's on there, then I would definitely say that the secondary, especially cornerback depth, I think is really what their weakest position is. Because like I said, once you get past those starters, Jalen Mills should probably be a safety or kind of a hybrid player, safety cornerback. He's not an ideal fit as a starter in their strongest position group. It's tough. I actually think that safety should be pretty strong for them because they've got Devin McCourty, Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar. They've got some cornerbacks who can play safety. There's a question at middle linebacker about who plays next to Dante Hightower. Otherwise, I put them in that group. But defensive line should be a strength as well because we got Devon Godshaw, Lawrence Guy. They drafted Christian Barmore. Henry Anderson's in there, Dietrich Wise. So it is kind of a nice and balanced defense. But yeah, weakest group will be that cornerback depth, and the strongest, I guess I would say the safeties, because you've got the really two solid starters in McCourty and Adrian Phillips, but then you've also got the youth of a guy like Kyle Duggar and the versatility of a player like Jalen Mills.
Hey, Doug, this has been great for what it's worth, man. I don't. This is the first time that this has happened, but I did some sweating trying to figure this thing out. I appreciate your patience. You stayed longer. Just to help us finish this, man. You've been great, and hopefully we can get you around another time, and it won't none of this BS. We don't have to worry about none of this stuff, man. So I do appreciate your time. And before we go, I just want to give you the opportunity to get the plug talk out the way. Any and everything that you got going on, let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know what you got, where they can listen, all that good stuff, and where they can see you.
For sure, pff.com. That's where you can find everything that I'm writing. I've got a piece on Steelers outside linebacker Alex Highsmith coming out, I think, on Thursday morning. Follow me on Twitter at Doug Kyed. And then every Monday around noon, we do a PFF Q&A. It's me, Ari Mayrove, and Brad Spielberger. Take your questions on StreamYard and Periscope and YouTube and all those things. So check that out as well. But thanks a lot for having me, guys. This was fun. Throughout, even through the technical difficulties, it was still fun.
Yes, man. And like I said,
we appreciate you.
Absolutely, and like I said, we like the longer form conversations because this is sports, but it's more about the person that we're talking to. And eventually we will have that conversation where we can chop it up and just relax a little bit, man. But until then, enjoy your time, enjoy the rest of training camps, enjoy the rest of the preseason, and get ready for that grind, man. The NFL grind, man.
No, it's coming up. All
absolutely,
right.
man. You take care, man.
All right.
You too. All right, guys.
All right. Boom, and there goes Doug. Doug was cool, man, and I appreciate everybody who did stick through the difficulties. That shit was wild, Dre. Out of nowhere. I'm sitting here trying to reason. Like I told you before Doug got on, I'm sitting here thinking it was something going on with your side. I'm like, there's no way something dropped and they can hear me, but you can't. So I'm like, it has to be something going on with Dre. Turns out it's my shit. And it happened 2 more times.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, I was turning my shit back on and off. I said, I know this working, man. This got to be working. I don't know.
No, it was all me. But we gonna figure something out. I'm gonna have to talk to one of the guys who helped me set this up to figure out what could have been the issue. But we'll worry about it later. We ain't tripping on that. We talking about some Washington football, man. Let's close it out with just 2 quick topics, man. The first thing is the people on the offensive side, if you had 1 or 2, or a couple more, a couple people that you're looking forward to seeing in their first preseason game with Washington, or people who you think has something to prove in their first preseason game with Washington. I know I kind of dropped this question on you just now, but if you have those people on the top of your head, let's talk about who they are and why.
Yeah, I think we talked about it all offseason. One of I think the most fun thing to watch all preseason is going to be the wide receiver battle. Because like Doug was saying, like we all been saying, you got Terry, you got Curtis. Obviously, Curtis isn't playing, but the rest of those guys you want to see. You want to see how Dami Brown looks in his first pro experience. You want to see if Antonio Gandy Golden can be an NFL player this year. You want to see who's developing the chemistry with the quarterback crew out there. I mean, because this roster spot's on the line for these guys. You know, you want to see if Kelvin Harmon can recover from injury and if he's going to show anything. And then also for the running backs, you want to look at Antonio Gibson, see how he's moving. I mean, I've been hearing some good things about him, but I know early on in camp, folks were worried a little bit about his toe still being a lingering issue. So you want to see if that's something. And not only that, you may not see Antonio Gibson too many snaps in the first game this coming week, but you do want to see if maybe they're going to reveal if they're going to start putting him more in the passing game, if he's going to show even better with another year of experience at the running back position. Remember, last year was the first time he ever played running back, so maybe you want to see this year if he's a little bit more patient with his blockers, and if he shows the experience and if he's ready to take that next step this year. Also, kind of on the lower end of the running back pool, I'm looking at Jared Patterson. I definitely want to see if he's a guy that can emerge and take a roster spot. Maybe if he could push your man that you hate, Peyton Barber, out of a spot. You know,
if
anybody
out of there.
If they're getting Peyton Barber out of here, Jamal, the only way they're going to get him out of here is if Jared Patterson emerges and takes his spot. Otherwise, he's going to be back for year 2 here. So that's a guy I want to see. Also, Sammy Reyes, I definitely want to see that guy. You know, we heard a lot about him. You want to see if he's as raw of a prospect as you would think he is with his limited experience playing the sport. So he's going to be a guy keep an eye on when, you know, they start bringing the second and third stringers in. Then on defensively, of course, you know, we definitely looking at Jamin Davis. You know, we all want to see if he's NFL advertised, if he's the guy they drafted in the first round. You know, if he's going to show those flashes early on. That's going to be exciting to me. And just overall, you just want to see the intensity and the speed that these guys are going to play with. You know, obviously, Ron always talks about the team playing with the speed that they want to and the pace that they want them to play at. So you want to see if they're going to kind of bring that intensity out in preseason. You know, even with the limited snaps that the starters will see, you want to see if the Chase Youngs and everybody are just ready to go out and hit, and if they're going to be playing at a different level. So, you know, those are just a couple of names I'll be looking for on Thursday.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point and an obvious point, and something that we've been consistent with, at least here on Trapper Dive, is the receiver position, man. And as much as, you know, I've talked about Steven Sims in a negative light, I do want to acknowledge the fact that he's been playing well in training camp. He's been performing well, and I think that's one thing that kind of helps him moving forward in the actual preseason games, is because he has a positive narrative behind his name. So how do you capitalize on something like that? You capitalize by getting your opportunities in preseason and never looking back. He's in a position where his second year, he came out as a liability. Like, he was a complete liability for Washington, man, and that's not good for a player like him, who's clearly a playmaker. But if they can't trust you, how can they get you the ball? Like, you fumbled too many times, you dropped too many passes. But when the ball is in your hand, we know that you're capable of taking it 80. Like, you're capable, but they can't trust you. So Steven Sims, hey, go to move. Oh my God, bro. What if she was the issue this whole time, bro?
Chew the wire,
son. So I know what she's looking for. Let me go ahead and be quick. So yeah, I think that he's in that position to make that type of noise and carry that momentum into the preseason and help himself out, and that's important for a guy like him who's quite honestly on the brink, like with a few other guys at his position, but he's clearly not guaranteed no roster spot. And if I had to give a percentage, I would say he's at a. You know what? I'm gonna be fair. I'm not gonna be drastic. I'll say he's starting out at 50-50. I'll just say he's starting out at 50-50. And then it moves from here and there. He's at a 50-50 shot right now. But he has a lot going for him. He's playing really good in camp, and I hope it carries over, because as much as I say I don't trust him, that doesn't mean I don't like him as a player. He has that potential, and we're not going to carry over any further than that because we said enough. But that's where I'm at with Steven. Another player, matter of fact, I kind of wrote this in my article. It was Steven Sims and Taylor Heineke on the offensive side of the ball. I'll be quick with Heineke because, again, this is another player that we spoke on. But when you're talking about Taylor, man, and Ron Rivera kind of mentioned this, he's not when it comes to preseason, man, he's not looking to just go out there and hopefully nobody gets hurt going through the motions. He's going out there to see who's going to execute, who's going to come out there with the intensity, who's going to come out there with the sense of urgency. He emphasized the sense of urgency part in his presser recently, and he's going to try and make sure that he notates every single thing that's going on. And with Taylor Heineke, who struggled in practice, the only thing he got left is to play good in the fucking game. All he got left. So when it comes to Taylor, man, there was a lot of hype behind his name, a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with having that hype. But the issue with him is not necessarily on the fan side. It's just more so when you're not living up to the expectations that the coaches had of you, or at least even challenging Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not even close to challenging Ryan Fitzpatrick. You have to shout in the preseason games. And then on top of that, when you play well in the preseason game, you have to then come back to practice the next week and show them that you're capable of doing this throughout the week and then on game day. You can't just wait till game day and hope that you get that opportunity. Coaches can't trust nobody like that. It's impossible for them to trust anybody like that. So those are two guys on the offensive side of the ball that I'm looking forward to. And then I'll turn it over to you for the last bit is the position groups. What position groups are you looking forward to or that you're paying attention to, at least depth-wise or seeing where we got? Because for me, I'm not going to elaborate. I'll let you go first. But for me, it would be the defensive line. But where are you at?
Yeah, I think definitely for me, obviously the wide receivers and the cornerbacks are going to be something else I want to look at, because right now you got to figure we have two solid cornerbacks in Kendall and William Jackson, but we don't know. I mean, a lot of the fans, they don't want Kendall playing on the outside. You know, the fans want Kendall Fuller to move back to the inside, which is probably where he's more strong at. But Ben St. Juste is a guy that we really need to see if he's what they think he is, because if he is what they think he is, now that allows you to start him and William Jackson on the two outside, and you can play the defense that you want to play. And, you know, Jack Del Rio and them love to play the press man coverage, and that's the specialty that William Jackson brings. And allegedly, this is one of Ben St. Juste's specialties. So if he can show that he's a guy that can be relied on early, then he's a guy that's going to automatically slide into that starting cornerback position. So that's what I'm looking for, that position group. And I think the safeties too, because you know, you got Cam Curl, you got Landon Collins, he's back, and then you got Bobby McCain. I think you have three guys that's in the mix for a lot of plays on the field. I was just having this conversation on Twitter yesterday with a couple of guys where some of them was kind of complaining about the depth of the cornerback position. I believe JP had mentioned that we were a little thin at cornerback, which is, to me, I disagree with that. I don't think they're thin. I mean, there's still some unknowns, but I don't know if they're thin. I think you have good depth there. But the thing is, I don't think you will be seeing a lot of sets where you're playing four cornerbacks on the field, and that's because of the safeties. You have Bobby McCain, who can he played cornerback in college, and he's a deep range safety, so he can kind of play that sideline to sideline. He can probably go in and check a receiver on the inside. But so you're going to see a lot of packages on the field with three safety sets. So I'm definitely going to be looking at all of that defensive backfield to see if these guys will allow Jack Del Rio to be as aggressive as he wants up front, because they have the back end covered.
Dre, let me ask you if you've seen any of these guys play. David Bada, I'm gonna just name them. David Bada, Gabe Wright, Devario Lawrence, Justice Reed, William Bradley King, and Casey Tool Hill. Excuse me. I'm not done yet. Bunmi Rotimi, Daniel Wise, Shaka Tony, James Smith Williams. Now we know the names, but how many of those have you seen play?
All right, so one of these I actually got to give credit to one of our listeners. I don't know if he's on listening tonight, but Kev actually had pointed out what's his name, William Bradley King, the defensive end we just drafted this year. So he had pointed him out to me, and I went and watched some YouTube clips of it, and I thought he was solid. I was like, he's okay. But I did go look at some. Now, mind you, I know you asked me about games. I seen YouTube clips of these guys. I didn't really. I mean, if I watched their games, which I did because I bet on a lot of the college football games, but I wasn't watching them specifically, unless they was like super standing out on the field or something. But Shaka Tony is a guy. I've seen a lot of his YouTube clips, and he looks really explosive in the YouTube clips. I haven't heard much from him as far as camp goes, but yeah, he's a guy I'll be looking to see if he's that edge bending rusher that we've been needing, that situational edge bender rusher, because we haven't had a situational edge bender rusher since, in my opinion, Ndukwe Kalu, and that's a name going back 20 or so years. But Junior Gillette was supposed to be that, if you remember, but that guy was another story. So I think Shaka Tony is a guy that potentially, from the YouTube clips I've seen, and he was drafted in the 7th round, he's a guy that potentially could be that situational edge bending rusher that we've been sorely missing for years.
Hey, be careful, Dre. Less guys is in my chat right now promoting that he got blackballed. So,
I'm sure.
They ain't right now talking about something. Y'all need to shut up, bro. Y'all know what y'all talking about. It's like, they be finding their ways in the most randomest conversations, bro. And you're like, how the fuck did you find this?
They be women and everything. Like, he got everything. Like 20 little girls that be like defending him.
The same stories. It's like copy and paste the template, bro, and just post it on Twitter. It's crazy. All right, that's enough. That's enough Gillette, man. We don't want to summon him. You know what I'm saying? He'll be around somewhere. But you get it though, man, and that's kind of where I'm at. Not only this week against the Patriots, but the rest of the preseason. I think a lot of people bring up good points on Twitter when we have our interactions, man. We don't, the depth is questionable, and that's rightfully so. But to those who, this is sidebar, those who want Ryan Anderson, even though he did end up signing back with the Giants, that should have never been an option. That will not be an option. There's no reason to bring him back. With that being said, I acknowledge your assertion that there is no depth. I agree to this point. We don't know what the depth looks like. But we need to see these guys that I named. Even though we understand the names, we've seen highlights, including myself. We need to see how they play on the field, man, because some of these guys are going to be key parts to Washington this season. Whether or not we think they're good, this is who they have right now, and this is who we got to work with. Right now, clearly it's top heavy with the rotations and stuff like that. But you got to figure out who's behind the stars of the defensive line, and that's kind of where I'm at with it, Jay. I'm gonna be paying attention to that position group, and then obviously Steven Sims and Taylor Heineke offensively, at least to start off the first week.
Yeah, but the kind of comment more on that. The edge, I know that's where a lot of the depth concerns are with the edge, but in a sense, I mean, it was kind of the same situation as last year, other than the only difference was we had Ryan Kerrigan, and Ryan Kerrigan was a shell of himself last year. I mean, yeah, he had a couple of good games early, but after that, he did what he kind of normally does, and you just don't hear from him for a while. So, but I think this year you'll get guys like, now the guy's name I have been hearing in camp that's been, doing, I guess, a decent job is James Smith-Williams. Now, maybe this is a guy with more opportunity. He'll be able to, step up and show his worth on the edge. So I don't think the edge depth is a concern until it is. So, right now, we'll see if the young guys with more opportunities can make a name for themselves. And if they don't, then we don't have depth. But, they're young, so they may be able to show something. So if they do show something, then we do have depth. But we'll see. That's like you said, that's something to watch, though. It's definitely something to watch.
Fair enough. Absolutely. All right. What you got going on Thursday, man? You going? Oh, that's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about before the mic went out. You going to your favorite spot, man? You going to Hooters for the game?
I wouldn't go to Hooters to watch a game. Their TV's not good enough, man. I would have to go somewhere like Buffalo Wild Wings if I was going to watch a game. Plus, Hooters when you kind of want to go in there, show off a little bit, talk to the honeys. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to say, you may be distracted. I don't know if you won't be watching the game and shit.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't go there, because I'd be too busy talking to one of the little ladies there or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's Dre Stomping guys right there. You know what I'm saying? You know what time Dre on when he pop up to the Hooters.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? What Jim Riggleman say, the old Nats manager, he said, I'm just there to let them see me.
Hey, man, I respect it. I love that. I love it, man. All right, so look, I'm looking forward to the game. Obviously, you are too. We will be back. You are welcomed, obviously, because you are Trapper Dive. You're welcome. I'm gonna be hosting a pregame, and I will be here post-game, and I will be actually live streaming the game or co-casting. I guess that's the proper term. I can't show the game, I don't think, until I get actual approval from Twitch to actually do it. But I'll be around on Thursday. So obviously you are welcome to do the pre or post game. I know you're gonna be watching that game on the street, on the TV and shit, so that's fine. And before we close out,
I'll be here.
Oh, bet. So yeah, hop on either one, pre-game, post-game, or both, whatever. Obviously, choices.
I do both, man.
All right,
that's like Cameron said, Rob Bass, Dougie Fresh mixed it up. He said, "Who am I to fuck tradition up? I'm here, man."
Hey, bro. Okay. I like that. I may need to put that as an intro for this junk. All right, okay. So for those who are still here and obviously who'll be listening to the podcast, tomorrow we got my boy Mike, Professor Mike, coming on. And we do have a guy from Pittsburgh that's covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's gonna recap Dwayne Haskins' first outing. And we're gonna talk a little bit Dwayne Haskins and Pittsburgh Steelers. And then to follow him, we got our boy Mike coming on. He had one of the craziest fights that I've ever seen in my life. He got robbed live TV, and I've never seen nothing like that. Only in the movies where a man like that whooped somebody's ass and they gave him a unanimous loss, and by over multiple points. Like, I've never seen nothing like that. So he's going to come on, get some things off his chest. This isn't the traditional NFL, but we're going to chop it up with my boy. I know him. I've known him for a couple of years. So we're going to talk some boxing and what the hell happened this past Saturday night. So with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. I will see you all Thursday. And then I will be back Monday. So we are in the thick of things, man. We're in the thick of things. We're here. So T, I appreciate you staying through. She's over here laughing at you, Dre, because I think she know what type of time anybody on when they come to Hooters. So it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you hanging there, T, through all the technical difficulties. It could not stop a great interview. That man Doug was really good. And he stuck through with it. So that being said, I'm out of here. Dre out of here. T, I will see you on Twitter. You know, I did share your thing on Friday. If I'm around, I'm definitely gonna look out for it and try to pop in for a second. But yeah, I will see you all tomorrow. Appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate everybody for listening. All that good stuff. So see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Worse. We only real, nigga. It's Neon. Whole hard in the trenches. Ask a nigga what he benching. Triple digits, nigga. Don't forget to mention. Whole hard in the trenches. Ask a nigga what he benches. Triple digits, nigga. Don't forget to mention. Don't forget. I got memories, dead stain the whole room if I let them bleed. Shit was dark, I let this little light of mine shine for me. Nigga, I'm a soldier, pen full of pain and cry for me. And if we gotta hit the block, then Brody, I ride for free. I know they gon' die for me, my life used to be ugly. Nowadays it's sunny weather, somewhere you need short sleeves. I'm growing more and more important the more I can't afford things. And boy, this life is costing me a fortune. But you know, scared money don't make no money if I ever go broke. I'm out here looking for something, homies tried to rob me. Shit turned sour soggy. They gon' try right over with your pride on the Kawasaki. With your bitch on the back, then do victory laps. These hoes like Ricky Bobby, they just wanna go fast. I'm just steady pacing, jogging. They kill Nipsey, niggas heartless. I'm still running me a marathon, I'ma get it regardless. The game gon' remember me.